Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. All right. Thank you in Discord very much. How does the EU pass laws?
For new EU...
The original link to the video... Hi, guys. How are you? Sorry, manners. Good, I hope. Original link to the video, top of the description. Below that, link to the Discord. Would love to have you. Cicerone? They both sound cool, so I'm not sure which one it is, but I watched one of their videos and it was good, and let's do this one.
EU law to come into existence.
I feel like all the time I say more words than I need to. Let's learn.
EU laws are a popular subject of discussion in pubs and cafes all over Europe. But how do we get these laws and who makes them? For a new EU law to come into existence, someone must first have an idea for a law, make a draft for it, officially propose it,
good.
and then
This was good. This was something that I also had a question concerning this about referendums. I got to see if someone answered that. Like, you know, let's say that Brexit failed, okay? Let's say it failed. Or how often can you put another one up for vote? Can you just be like, all right, vote again, vote again, vote? And I'm wondering with this too. So I'm assuming, before I watch, that I know representatives from countries kind of don't just pair with each other, but pair with their own parties, which makes sense. It's like if there are two senators in a state, and then they're elected, and then they go to Washington, D.C., they're not going to work together if one's a Democrat, one's a Republican. You're going to go to the caucus within that within the Senate, right? And then you're going to... So I'm assuming that you're going to make them when your party within the EU agrees on a bill and then sends it to the whatever you call it.
Must first have an idea for a law, make a draft for it, officially propose it, and then have it accepted. The right to propose a new law, called the right of initiative, officially lies solely with the Commission. This means only the Commission may propose new laws. The EU wouldn't be itself, however, if there weren't some exceptions to this rule. So while the Commission has the only official right of initiative, others also have ways of putting their ideas on the table. For example, when the majority of the European Parliament feel that common law is required to reach certain goals, it may ask the Commission to draft a proposal for new legislation. The Commission does not have to honor such a request, but it has to give an explanation if it chooses to refuse it. For example, when the majority of the European Parliament feel that common law is required to reach certain goals, it may ask the Commission to draft a proposal for new legislation. The Commission does not have to honor such a request, but it has to give an explanation if it chooses to refuse it. The Council can also try to initiate new laws by asking the Commission to explore whether common legislation on a subject would be useful. If the Commission finds good reason for common laws, it would be very strange for them not to draft a proposal. So, although with a bit of a detour, both Parliament and the Council can cause new common legislation to be created. However, it is always the Commission that drafts and proposes laws, and in both cases the Commission can choose not to do so, as long as it explains why. We won't go into too much detail, but it is worth mentioning that of course the EU is not as simple as this. These ways of initiating new laws are not the only ones. The regular legislative procedure can be launched in some way or another by a quarter of the EU member states, the Court of Justice. These ways of initiating new laws are not the only ones. The regular legislative procedure can be launched in some way or another by a quarter of the EU member states, the Court of Justice of the EU, the European Investment Bank, or the European Central Bank. These institutions, however, can only do this in certain subjects.
For example, a quarter of the member states can only initiate it on subjects within the fields of judicial cooperation, in criminal matters, and police cooperation, not in any other fields.
Last but not least, you may take it into your own hands to create new EU law. You can do so directly by gathering signatures of at least 1 million EU citizens from at least 7 member states. Or, when you're on your own, you can submit a petition to the European Parliament, as is every EU citizen's right. Or of course, in a more indirect way, you can bring it to the attention of the Parliament simply by lobbying with its members.
I want to know if that's ever worked. Has a law ever been passed that was initially brought up by one individual just sending it in?
Once the initiative for a proposal has been taken, the Commission starts the consultation process, meaning the Commission gathers information in all kinds of ways, for example by asking experts, international organizations and NGOs. In this process, the terms green or white paper are often mentioned. These documents are used to invite or inform other parties of the proposed legislation. Once the consultation process is ended, the College of...
So green papers invite relevant parties to participate in a consultation process for proposed EU laws. White papers seek to launch a debate with the public stakeholders, the EP, European Parliament, and the Council in order to gain consensus for proposed EU laws. So green, you invite relevant parties to participate in consultation. White, you're trying to start debate with either of these things in order to gain consensus for proposed EU laws. So, is white papers just to gain... So is green papers, or is white papers used to get a consensus or whatnot on green paper legislation? Green papers? So like you put a green paper in the party, and is a white paper to question the green
parties, white papers, international organizations and NGOs. In this process, the terms green or white paper are often mentioned. These documents are used to invite or inform other parties of the proposed legislation.
So invite or inform, or...
Once the consultation process is ended, the College of Commissioners adopts the proposal. After the Commission have processes or inform other parties of the proposed legislation. Once the consultation process is ended, the College of Commissioners adopts the proposal. After the Commission have drafted a proposal of the new legislation, they send it to Parliament, to the Council and to all national parliaments. If both the Council and the Parliament simply accept the proposal, it is passed. If Parliament does not fully agree, it may amend. The Council then considers the amended version of the proposal and can either accept it, passing the proposal, or amend it itself, sending it back to the Parliament for a second look. Parliament may then accept or again amend it and send it back to the Council.
Okay.
If these two have not worked it out by then, a commission consisting of members of Parliament and the Council tries to agree on a new version.
So it's simply like a formality of just sending it to the individual nations' governments, but they don't have any power in swaying it. That's up to their representatives in Parliament.
If they can't come together, the process ends here. If, however, they make a new version, yes, you guessed it, both Parliament and the Council have a third look. Here they may only accept or reject. They can no longer make any changes. This is to make sure that the process does not go on forever.
Interesting.
What about the third group that got sent a draft? If Council and Parliament can pass the proposal on their own, why did the Commission...
That's interesting, because that suggests you need... obviously, at the same time, you don't want the one subject to grind it to a halt. But if it's gone already 2 times around, that third revision, you have to be really serious. It's either you make an offer that you think they can maybe accept, or it's just going to fail.
Make any changes. This is to make sure that the process does not go on forever. But what about the third group that got sent a draft? If Council and Parliament can pass the proposal on their own, why did the Commission even send it to the national parliaments?
I thought it was just a formality.
While national parliaments do not have to do anything for the process to continue. They can do something to stop it. If they think the proposed legislation goes against the principle of subsidiarity, they can object with the 2 votes each member state has. The principle of subsidiarity prevents the EU from unnecessarily infringing the national government's legislative power. If 1/3 of national parliaments object, the proposal received a yellow card and it must be reviewed. Based on this review, the Commission may choose to maintain, amend or withdraw the proposal. If maintained or amended, the process continues. If it chooses to withdraw, the process ends. If more than half of the national parliaments object, an orange card is drawn, and a similar process of review is started.
Sorry, I like that it's a 1/3 of votes only needed, because you could see really bullying going on if you needed like a 2/3 vote. That makes sense.
Received a yellow card. If 1/3 of national parliaments object, the proposal received a yellow card and it must be reviewed. Based on this review, the Commission may choose to maintain, amend or withdraw the proposal. If maintained or amended, the process continues. If it chooses to withdraw, the process ends. If more than half of the national parliaments object, an orange card is drawn, and a similar process of review is started. However, in case
Of course, I just realized, of course, Europe is using like soccer style, football, soccer style.
of an orange
No, yellow card.
An orange card is drawn, and a similar process of review is started. However, in case of an orange card, the Commission must explain its position if it decides to keep the proposal without change. Both Parliament and the Council must then decide whether they agree with the national parliament or with the Commission. If more than half of either Parliament or the Council agrees with the objecting national parliament, the proposal is dropped. Now, this entire process is not the most straightforward, even in the simplified form, so let's go over it once more.
No, I thought that was pretty good, and I'm not great with understand. I don't think I feel like I followed.
Legislation is made by the Commission itself, the European Parliament, the Council, any EU citizen, or depending on the subject, a quarter of the EU member states, the Court of Justice of the EU, the European Investment Bank, or the European Central Bank. Then the Commission, with the help of all kinds of experts, drafts a proposal. After that, the proposal is reviewed by the Council and Parliament and is open for objection from national parliaments. If the proposal manages to get through this process, it is passed and comes into force immediately. If that's not complicated enough, there are 3 forms a new EU law can come in.
The only issue I'm having is that I forgot exactly the structure of the European Commission versus the Parliament, versus the courts and whatnot. That's not. It would be nice to have a more solid view, but
immediately. If that's not complicated enough, there are 3 forms a new EU law can come in: a decision, a regulation, or a directive.
To find out more about the other institutions, the history of the EU and other subjects, please check out our playlists and subscribe to our channel.
There are a few more I'm going to watch. Really interesting. So I'm not... I'm interested in this stuff, far from very well informed on it, and so hope I don't sound too confident, because I shouldn't. But yeah, I think I said what I wanted to and asked some questions. If you guys could answer any of the things or just whatever your comments, I'd really appreciate it. And I will see you next video. Bye, guys.